Good evening, everyone. I'm Arba Cooper. Welcome to Vision Doers, and I'm the group leader and trainer. We meet every week to discuss a different topic for our personal, professional, and financial development. This mastermind group helps business professionals learn innovative marketing strategies, get peer support, brainstorm ideas, and create accountability. We are goal-oriented and success-driven. Unless we have a guest speaker, which we do, I will prepare questions for group discussion based on our topic. Now, everyone is at different levels in their business, and we can all learn from each other. I encourage everyone to participate and respect the opinions and suggestions of others. Please try to keep your camera on and stay engaged with the discussion. The speaker may call on people to allow for a more diverse discussion and take advantage of the opportunity to connect by putting your contact information in the chat and include your calendar link. Now, tonight, we have Todd Mitchell, owner of Cybersecurity for Biz LLC, and that's the number 4. He's a disabled veteran-owned business. Start that over. Cybersecurity for Biz LLC is a disabled veteran-owned small business owner. Todd Mitchell understands the value of your data. He is retired from the U.S. Navy with over 30 years of experience protecting confidential and secret information using cybersecurity best practices. After receiving his master's degree in cybersecurity policy, he was helping friends who own their own businesses and realized there are no cybersecurity resources available unless you have over 100 employees. So Todd decided to make it his mission to help all small businesses and families by designing affordable cybersecurity solutions customized specifically for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, micro, small businesses, and families. Let's give a Vision Doers welcome for our speaker, Todd Mitchell.
Awesome.
That was awesome. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about there's what I call the core 4, the 4 things that you could be doing to keep yourself safe, keep your business safe, protect your customers' information. These actually apply to any situations, so you can kind of like take them home and do them with your family at the same time. And before we get into the 4 things, I kind of wanted to talk about why we need cybersecurity. So I know cybersecurity is kind of been thrown around that's the new buzzword now, where everybody's labeled everything cybersecurity. But the way I look at cybersecurity is protecting your most valuable assets, basically. For big companies, large corporations, General Motors, IBM, all that, that means thousands of computers and server rooms and stuff like that. When it comes to us, solopreneurs working out of the house, that's your laptop and your home router, maybe your kid's PlayStation, your smart TV, stuff like that. So we have completely different items that need to be protected. The rules on how to protect them, the laws that you have to follow as far as data rights protections for your customers and things like that, those don't change. But the way you have to go about it is a little bit different, and the way it's applicable and the way that you kind of have to implement it is going to be a little bit different. So that's basically like Arva said in my intro, this is how I got into this. My best friend got hacked and lost his database, and he was a DJ, and music is all digital nowadays, along with everything else. And I don't have to tell you, but a DJ with no music is kind of useless. So he was hurting really bad, and he's like, hey, what do I do? So we started Googling cybersecurity companies, and I know there's like a million of them out there, and so we're like 4 or 5 pages deep in the Google search, and everyone we found none of them would work with anybody small. They're all like, we found a couple that said they work with small business, and we call them up and they're like, oh yeah, we love small business. You got to have 250 employees, 10 million in revenue, 5 guys in your IT department. I'm like, that is not a small business, So um, I ended up helping him in my spare time, and he brought a couple other people that he ran into, and I helped them. And then eventually he just kept poking at me and poking at me until he convinced me to open my own business. And so that's my big passion, is working with, I won't even take a client that has more than 20 computers. I'm like, you got plenty of other options out there somewhere else. So um, the kinds of things that you need to protect that kind of pertain to a small, well, any business, but most specifically in a small business, is um, personally identifiable information. So you're talking name, address, birthday, phone numbers, email addresses, stuff like that. Um, Financial information. If you're collecting, if you're in the financial industry specifically, tax preparers and bookkeepers and virtual assistants, like we were talking about earlier, get into this because they're the kind of go-between. And you're collecting a bunch of bank accounts and 401ks and payroll information and stuff like that, then that's got to be protected. Payment card information itself needs to be protected. If you transmitting credit cards through your website to take payments on things. Medical information, obviously anybody's patient records and things like that have to be protected. And another big one that employee records, payroll and taxes. A lot of businesses are like, well, I don't have anything important, well, you pay taxes, don't you? Because there's one sheet of paper that has your name, your social security number, your address, your phone number, all that, and the social security number and date of birth of not only you, but your spouse, all your kids. You want to get paid. They know where you work and how much money you make already because it's the IRS. You want to get paid faster, so you give them your bank account number. So you literally have every single thing you need to open a mortgage on one piece of paper. And if you want to get real technical about it, you probably signed this. Well, nowadays we don't do that. It's all electronic. But back in the old days, you actually signed it. So they got your copy of your signature they can forge too. So all this information is, regardless of how small your business is, you got something stashed someplace that somebody else could use if they got their hands on it. So that's why I say cybersecurity is important. And I think it's even more important for a small business, because if you're some big hospital like you hear about in the news and you get hacked and you lose 50,000 records, and the FTC and Health and Human Services comes and smacks down on you and gives you a couple $1 million in fines, they'll survive. If that happens to one of us, we're done. I don't know about I'm just assuming, but I don't think anybody here could take a couple $100,000 fine from the government and survive. You'll be lucky to keep your house, let alone your business. So that's why, in my opinion, not only are solopreneurs the kind of the underserved area that got left behind by the system, but we're the most important, because that's the reason why 60% of the businesses close after a couple of years, because something goes wrong, you're done, you can't survive it. So, all right. So the core 4 things that we can be doing to help protect ourselves. One other thing I wanted to say. So how, just out of curiosity, how do you think you would get hacked if somebody was to hack you? How do you think that would happen? Anybody have any ideas?
Just through your computer, right? Through and your phone. Now, if you lose your phone, I was talking to my husband the other day about that. Your phone is an electronic key to everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and that's very true. So data breaches, over 90% of the data breaches are caused by human error. So Hollywood has done us a major injustice in my industry. That's my biggest obstacles, because of the way they portrayed it in the movies. They think everybody's getting hacked by some guy in a hoodie in their mom's basement clacking away on a keyboard in the middle of the night. That might be where ransomware or malware came from, but that's not how you got hacked. There's, I hate to bust your ego, but nobody in Russia woke up in the middle of the night and said, "Oh, I got to hack Kimberly today." It's just not happening, right? So, but they make this malicious software and they throw it out there on Facebook, or they send these email blasts out, and they're just hoping that you're naive or not paying attention or whatever and going to click that button. And I'll get into the reason why that button is so important later. But so one of the first things you can do is multi-factor authentication. I know it's a pain in the butt to have to keep going to your phone and punching in that code every time they text it to you to get into your bank account, to get into your social media account, or to get into your CRM, or your whatever other tools you're using to complete your job. But that's your biggest line of defense. That's literally like putting a deadbolt lock on your front door. I mean, because the reason why is in in um in multi-factor authentication goes off of the concept of, for computer use at least, for identity, you're something you have, something you know, and something you are. So something you are would be like a fingerprint or a retina scan, DNA, something that's which you see in the movies where they got to do all that stuff to get into the secret room for the bad guys or whatever. But um the implementation of it's not really there. I mean, most people don't have the technology floating around their house to be able to do a retina scan to get into their computer. The something that's the easy one. That's the passwords. That's the answers to your security questions. And the something you have can be a phone. And that's where that multi-factor comes in, because even if somehow I end up with your username and password, I can't get into your bank account because it's texting a code to your phone. So unless I have your phone and your username and password, which is highly unlikely. So that's why I say that is your biggest friend. And even more importantly, if you don't set it up, the bad guy can. I've seen this more times than I can count where somebody's hacked somebody's Instagram or Facebook and then went in and set up multi-factor authentication. So now you can't get into your account because it's sending the code to the bad guy and he just keeps hitting the wasn't me button and doesn't let you in. So it's imperative that you set this up, because if you don't, somebody else will. Um, and I would use it on everything you possibly can. I know almost every bank will force you to do it nowadays. Social media, they leave it up to you, even your checking your email and all that kind of stuff. But go set that stuff up every time you get a chance. Um, and then the next big thing is username and passwords. So I like to describe it like there's a pyramid. Um, the bottom level is your junk mail and your newsletters, those things you got to sign up for and give an email address and create an account. But there's not really any information in there. And then you have social media being the next layer. And that's a little bit more important, not because there's of the content per se, but most of our profiles have a whole lot of personal information in them. You set up that Facebook account, they got your name, they got your birthday, they got your school district you graduated from, or wherever, so there's a lot of information floating around in there too. And then the next level above that is going to be your banks and your school work accounts, bank accounts, things like that, your CRM software, different things. That's a little bit more important. So you want to start using unique username. Well, you can't really make unique usernames because a lot of them use your email, but make unique passwords for those things. And then the tip of the pyramid, in my opinion, is your Gmail account. And I say that for one reason. Most of us would say, oh, well, I don't have anything important in my email. I don't have to worry about protecting it. But you forget about the part that your Gmail account is what you use to make your Microsoft account, which is what you use to log into your computer. Your Gmail account's what you use to make your Apple ID, which is what you use to log into your iPhone or your Apple computer. Your Gmail account is what you get lazy and click that button that says, oh, just log me in with Google, instead of actually making a new account. So now they have access to a half a dozen of your other accounts. And so it kind of goes back to what Arbor was just saying about if you lose your phone, so those control access to devices. So you have to make sure that that password is completely unique to any other password so that nobody can ever get in. And if you think it's been compromised, you need to go change all of your other passwords and logins for devices and everything like that, because um, we'll get to that later on. But the Gmail account credentials is actually the hottest, most expensive item on the dark web right now. It's one Google account is worth like 100 social security numbers because it gives people access to devices and then they can just literally take over your world. So that's something just to think about. And as far as strong passwords go, I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you this. Okay, so in this green here, strong password would be nice and long, like 12 characters, right? But like this bottom one, learn from anyone. The problem with this is though, if you've ever used, how many of you have used searched for a word in a PDF or in a Word document or something like that, and like look up the word marketing on some like 200-page document? It comes back in seconds and tells you it found it on these 20 pages, right? That's how long it takes to find your password if you can find one of those words in your dictionary.
Wow.
So this learn from anyone right here, you want to actually use the one over here that says stronger, where they've switched out all the E's for threes and the A's for ats and the O's for zeros. So it's got letters and numbers and symbols all mixed. So you can't, it still says learn from anyone, and in your head you'll read it that way, but you can't find any of those words in the dictionary anymore because there's no word in the Webster dictionary that has letters or symbols in it. So keep that in mind. Um, so this is much better to do it with the mixed way than it is to do the old-fashioned way where it's your dog's name with the number 1 on the end of it. Those passwords can literally be cracked in seconds. I had a homework assignment when I was taking a college class one time, and we had to hack our own internal network. And I ran a software, and within 5 minutes, it came back with the password to get into my computer, my wife's computer, my daughter's computer, and all 3 of our cell phones. It took less than 5 minutes to crack all the passwords. I was like, holy crap. I ran out of my room. I was in my back office, bedroom slash office. I come running out going, everybody change your password right now. It was like, this is crazy. you know,
Yeah,
uh,
I just want I want to say something about that just a second. My daughter was in this is when she was in high school, and she had to go to summer school because she wasn't obviously paying attention in class. So then anyway, they called me into the school. She was in summer school, called me into the school, and they said, we have an issue. Apparently your daughter has cracked into the school system. And so even in summer school, she had hacked into the school system and was like just doing her work or something like that from home. I was like, oh my God. So
yeah, yep, yeah. It's so those are the biggest things about the user. And I know, by the book, I'm telling you the best practices have a unique password for every account. And I understand that that is very difficult to do and almost impossible nowadays. I mean, I think myself between work and home, I probably have a couple of hundred accounts. So use a password manager would be one option. LastPass, OnePass. I personally use the browsers, like when it asks you if you want to save your passwords or whatever. I use that. I use Chrome for all my business stuff, and I use Firefox for all my personal stuff, and I have both of them saving all my passwords. But even having said that, if you're always using the same password for everything, which you're not supposed to, but some of us do, go back to that layers and make different passwords for each of those layers. And the top 2 layers, definitely your device login, you want that to be completely different than anything else. And the same thing like with the bank ones. And one of my suggestions would be to take a little phrase, your favorite book or movie or something, whatever, and then you start throwing the numbers and symbols in there and switching out some letters. And then that'll be your core password. And then you stick something on the end of it, like Facebook or, bank or, whatever. And then you'll know, then you don't have as much stuff to remember in your head of what your password is because it's that plus the name of the website or whatever, and little tricks like that. Whatever works for you. There is no real right or wrong answer as long as, but to put it into to numbers. So if it's an 8-character name with a number on the end of it, you can crack it in less than 5 minutes. If it's 12 characters long with letters, numbers, and symbols, it takes 3 years of a computer constantly hitting one option after the other on that to crack it. So it's a for those of you who want to be math whizzes, just think of the old bicycle lock with the 000. There's literally like 1,000 combinations. You can go 001, 002, and you just keep going until you get to 999. Sooner or later, you're going to open this thing, right? Well, if you take that 0 to 9 and turn it into 26 small letters, 26 big letters, a dozen symbols, 10 numbers, you got 109 combinations off your keyboard now. So now you got 109 things to spin that wheel on, and you just took it from 3 out to 12. It's going to take a while to brute force that thing. So that's so the next big thing to talk about is that you can do free, easy. Is, and again, I understand it's an inconvenience, but it's well worth it, is your software updates. Apple and Windows both push out routine updates. They both have ways to go into the settings if you haven't done it already. And sometimes they do it automatically, but people go in there and undo it. But make sure they're set up to auto update. I know it's a pain to get in there every Wednesday morning and start working, and then your computer pops up with that thing telling you need to restart or whatever. But those are critical, because what happens is somebody found a way to hack into Windows, and Windows fixes the hack and sends out those updates every week. Like once a quarter, it's an actual software update, and they move all the buttons around and stuff just so you can't find anything anymore. But usually a lot of those updates are security related, where somebody found something that was wrong and they fixed it. So you don't want to get behind on those updates, because some of the stuff you see in the Hollywood movies is actually true. Most of it is. It's just not the way they're portraying it. But you can ping somebody's computer. I can ping one of your computers on your IP address, and I can find out through a couple of simple commands through the internet, and find out what kind of operating system you're using and what version. And and I'm not talking like Windows 11, I'm talking like Windows 11 dot a whole bunch of other numbers after that. And then I can look on that and know that you haven't updated in the last 2 weeks, and this one, new way of hacking in just come out, and I read about it on the internet or whatever. So now I know how to hack into your computer. So that's, yes. So you want to keep up on those updates. The same thing with your security settings, making sure your antivirus is turned on, Windows Defender. Apple's got one. I think Apple, you have to download it from their store. It doesn't come automatically installed. But the firewalls and the antivirus and things, you want to make sure those things are constantly on and running and doing their job. A router is a big one. How many of you guys are working from home or working in a small office that's using a home router?
I'm using Comcast router.
Yep. Okay. So, ooh, Comcast router. I love that. So not to pick on you, but here's my Comcast one. If a matter of fact, I can do this live, can I? Yes, I can. Okay.
Oh.
Uh,
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna show you how fast this works. Okay. How to log in log into Comcast router. I don't even have to open a web page. Type in this in your browser, and your password is password. And I'm in your router.
Oh my God.
That fast. So
Comcast not doing nothing about that?
they have, I even have clients that pay $14.99 a month or whatever for their for their cybersecurity package added on. But you go into the router and it's not turned on. The little toggle on off switch thingy is set to disable or off or whatever the heck they called it. So they're just paying for nothing. They think they're secure and they're not. And that's why I pick on the home routers. And that's why I'm glad somebody said Comcast. And now don't get me wrong, it's not just Comcast. All the routers from Linksys come with the admin and the password is password. Almost every router has this same symptom. If you got a Comcast business class router, the password's high speed, and there is no username. You just go in. A lot of them are this way. So I say, um, the first thing you need to do is when you get home or when you get off of here or whatever, go into your router settings. So the first thing you need to do is, just Google how to do it, and you can see it that easily. Um, and go in there and change the username and password to get into your router. Not the one for your Wi-Fi, but the one to actually get into the router and change the settings. And then while you're in there, just look at the settings. Look at your firewall. See if that thing's like it comes default out of the box set to the lowest settings. So you'll go to your firewall and there's like low, medium, and high, and it's set to low. I mean, this is like the bouncer at the door of the nightclub checking for people to make sure they got the VIP ticket before they can get in. And if you don't have that guy, I mean, just like paying the guy, but telling him he can just face the wall and be like, la, 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 and people are just walking in behind him, it's like, what's the sense of having a firewall if the thing's not going to be at the highest setting? Because literally everything in the world is trying to get into your router. And when you turn your firewall on the highest setting, it's like, oh, nothing's coming in unless Arba specifically asked for that. Oh, she sent out a request to the bank to find out her balance. Okay, we'll let you bring that information in. But when nobody requested it, nope, you're not talking to us right now. Stay outside. So they call it a gateway actually, because it is. It's the gateway to the internet inside of your house. And that's the number one place where you can be stopping any malicious activities. So yeah, check your router settings, because you may be surprised. You got all kinds of stuff in there that you can security and everything else, and half the time it's not even turned on. You're like, oh crap. So that's something to keep in mind.
Don't do it.
The next thing is you can also do the same thing on your computers. Now, those don't have passwords to get into it, but going into your computer and making sure your Apple or Windows has your firewall turned on and set to the highest settings and all that kind of stuff. Usually the very highest setting, the only thing that'll stop that you might need to get in, and most people don't, would be if you're doing peer-to-peer file transfers. Sometimes it'll stop that kind of stuff. So it's not that much of a thing anymore, but back in the day when everybody was trying to download free music off of LimeWire and stuff, it would stop that. But and it stops remote access also. But most of us aren't using remote access, so that's probably a good thing. It keeps the bad guys from getting in. The next big section I want to talk about is social engineering. Does anybody know what that means? Anybody ever heard of social engineering?
I've heard the term, but I don't know what it means.
Okay.
I heard it when I was working.
Yeah. So social engineering is a name that the cybersecurity world gave to finding your account information without having to write code and hack you. So I'll give you a perfect example. How many of you have been on Facebook and answered those little quizzes about where you met your boyfriend or where you got married, or if you were gonna go on a honeymoon to the same place you went the first time, where would it be? And what's your favorite food and what's your cat's name and all that stuff. You answer all those little things on the Facebook, you see these little quizzes and you answer those. If you stop and think about all those questions I just said, isn't that the same questions you answered on your security questions for your bank account? So if I can and now you're on Facebook, so I know your username because it's right there. So I got your username and I got the answers to security questions. Now all I got to do is just guess at what bank you're using or read through all your posts because you might have said it someplace. And now I go to your bank's website, pull up your username, be like, forgot my password, enter the security questions, and I'm in. And then I'm going to set up multi-factor authentication so you can't get in because you didn't do it the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
I don't answer
social
those.
engineering is basically hacking you by tricking you into giving up your stuff without me having to write a bunch of code and brute force my way into your network. It has two things that they're trying to do, which are kind of related but sort of different. So they either want to get money or they want to download software onto your computer and turn your computer into one of their little robots so that they have 10,000 computers to go do something bad to somebody else. So they're either making you part of the little bot army or they're trying to get money from you. So the money part comes from either hijacking your bank account and stealing it outright, or putting the ransomware on your computer and then telling you got to pay them $20,000 to get the code to get your computer back or whatever. Um, and then the other ones with the bots, that's trying to take over. There's a big thing called denial of service attack, which basically means, just think of it like this: if everybody in America hit Amazon's webpage and looked up the same can of cat food at the same time, it would just blow their server out, because they just, just insane. With all of us, we all got small websites. If you had 10,000 people hit your contact us form all at the same time, it'd just shut your whole website down. So, and that's what they do. Most of it is, most recently, we've seen this, like when Russia invaded Ukraine, we, the big governments, shut off the internet between Russia and Ukraine, so Russia couldn't get to Ukraine. So they come to America and they get you to click a button and take over your computer. So now they can use your computer to hack the Ukraine, because you can get to the Ukraine from the US. And that's, a lot of that is what happened. And so I'm going to share my screen again, show you some pictures of, whoops, wrong button. There we go. So let me see. There we go. All right. So this is called farming, which is basically making a fake website and getting you to it somehow. So this is the ones you see where you get the email that says, oh, we're from your bank, or, we got this fax receipt that couldn't go through. Click here to fix it, or whatever. So this one is an email sent saying, that there's some fax and you got to click on this button to see the fax. But then you'll notice if you click on the button, I stuck it up here, but if you're on your computer, when you hover your mouse over it, you'll see down the bottom left of your browser, it'll see the address that it's actually going to send you to. And where it's like this is going to send you to forum something.com, whatever. It's not eFax, so it's like, wait a minute, if I click this button, it's sending me someplace that's not what it says it's sending me to. The other thing to notice is it says it came from eFax, and a lot of times if you're in Google or Outlook, checking your Gmail or using Outlook, it'll tell you what the actual address was. So this one says up at the top, it says it came from eFax, but if you look at the actual address, it's 467D3F9 at marisseeger.com. Okay, that's definitely not eFax. I'm sure they make enough money to pay for their own domain named email. And then the other thing you can do is you can look at, because even though they got the right labels and what do you call it, logos and stuff smacked everywhere, but you look down the bottom and the copyright's like 10 years old, because they cut and paste this off of some old websites, and they've been using the same email for 20 years, 10 years or whatever. So those are things to look for, that when you're on a web page or you're getting an email to send you to a web page and things just don't feel quite right, check out those kind of things right there. And then with this also, you have to add a lot of common sense, right? Do you actually have an account with eFax? Is there somebody trying to fax you something? It's like, if you're not expecting a fax, never heard of it, don't know who this other person is, then it's probably, it's kind of one of those, if you think it's too good to be true, it probably is. Here's another one. This one's an actual cut and paste off of my computer. I got this. My annual plan has been auto renewal. So that one's kind of like, okay, that's not really grammar, but I'll let that one slide, because, marketing people sometimes get a little creative with headlines, trying to squish a bunch of stuff into the subject line or whatever. But then I'm looking at the from, and this is the same one. UYGFJ something at gmail.com. That is not a PayPal address. And then the big red flag is it went to undisclosed recipients. Now, this is supposed to be an email sending me one piece of paper that's a receipt for something I just paid. Why are you sending that to a bunch of people? Okay. And then if you know anything about file sizes and stuff like that, which Simone probably does, uh, a 2.4 megabytes for one piece of paper on a PDF, that's just not right at all. Just to let you know, for you non-computer techie geeky people, a single piece of paper in a PDF is like 12 kilobytes. So this is literally like 250 times bigger than it needs to be. Which tells me when I click this button, I'm getting a whole lot more than a piece of paper. So that's the big things right there. Here's another one I got.
Is there a way to enlarge? I'm like, really, like it looks like you're like just enlarge your window. Like click,
Okay.
yeah, because you looks like you're on a small, there we go.
Is
All
that, did that
right.
work? Okay, I'm sorry. All right. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. When I'm
I was
sharing the screen,
the
if I
first couple of ones I was like, okay, I can try and but that
I
one,
thought when I shared screen, it didn't matter what size the screen was that I'm over here on. So evidently,
yeah.
I got this huge monitor, so I got like, a dozen windows open, so I had it like shrunk up in the corner. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll go back and show you that one just so you can see it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I kind of saw it. It was
and
this
then, so
as you went on and on, it got smaller and smaller.
this one actually got flagged by my browser. It was like, oh, this isn't safe. So they tagged this one and shot it off. But somebody's trying to tell me they're from Squarespace, except if you look at it, it's admin at squaresp-service.com or something, which is not exactly the Squarespace. Again, Squarespace has got their own domain. And they're trying to tell me that my domain is currently registered with squarespace.com, and um, they detected that my service is going to expire in 2 days if I don't click this button. Well, I knew this was, well, and then there's an ad up here, which I know is totally crap because Squarespace doesn't throw ads in their emails, first of all. Second of all, my domain registration and renewal and all that is in the fall. It's like in August or September. And they just got this like a couple of weeks ago in February. I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is totally not right. So, and then here's another one I got that's, yeah, Photomania, something Doomba, I don't even know what, at gmail.com, you know, uh, and they're trying to tell me I need to give them their bank account. They're going to give me all this money if I just give my bank account number. Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Um,
People are still doing that. I thought they,
that's what I was kind of surprised. I was like,
yeah.
I thought that rich uncle, oh yeah, I got a $8.9 million. All I got to do is pay them, like $1,500 and give them my credit
See,
card number.
I didn't think they were still doing those.
Yeah.
Mm.
You got a rich uncle in, where was it, Nigeria or whatever? Everybody has a rich uncle in Nigeria. Yeah. Uh, so these are some ones I pulled off cell phones ones, Wells Fargo is trying to get a hold of you, click yes or no. We got something to deliver you, but we got your address wrong. Just go here and give us your real address and a bunch of other stuff. Whole Foods is trying to give you money. I don't know why. My iPhone, my account's going to be debited $600 for an iPhone unless I click this button or call this phone number. And that's supposedly from Amazon. When
Mm.
has Amazon ever got a hold of you when they couldn't deliver something? They just let you figure it out and call them 2 weeks later to try and get your stuff after you paid for it. So you
Now,
now,
what can the yes or no one do?
well, that's I'll get to that in just a second. Actually, I'll get to it right now. Well, one more slide and then I'll get to that. Okay,
Okay.
so the one I was talking about with the Russians taking over your computer, this is what it did. You'd be sitting there and it didn't matter what website you were on or whatever. All of a sudden, all these windows start popping up and they actually activated a siren through your speakers. So now your laptop, at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're not supposed to be working and you're checking email anyway, and all of a sudden your laptop's like, so you panic and just start clicking buttons trying to shut this thing off and get it to shut up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all these windows are like, it doesn't matter which one you hit or what button you hit on any of them.
Yeah, they won't go away.
And it's a fake phone number right here. They all have one thing in common. they're trying to get you. So has anybody messed around and made their own websites or like tweak your own websites and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I'm a web designer.
So there you go. So
Yeah.
how easy is it to make your entire screen one big see-through button that if you click anywhere, it does stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like 2 button clicks and you can do it, right? So
Yeah.
that's what they're doing with this. So it doesn't matter where you click, anywhere on your screen right now is going to be a click, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all have one thing in common. If you ever, who's loaded up legitimate software on your computer, downloaded a legitimate program? You know how the first thing it does is it grays out your screen and pops up that little box that says something's trying to make changes. Do you want to let it? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
That's the operating system, because they won't load something on your computer without you approving it.
Mm-hmm.
All these scams I just showed you all have one thing in common. They're trying to get you to click a button. That's all they're trying to do, because they got some nasty software they want to put on your computer. And as soon as you click, they're going to go run into Windows or to Apple going, hey, see,
But
sign
how
up
do
for
you get off? I mean, but how
this
do you
stuff
click
on
it
it.
off then? If you don't want to click it, then how do you?
So, is there any Apple users here? Oh, that makes it easy then. Okay, Control Delete, End Task.
Control delete? What?
Control Alt Delete.
Delete.
Control Alt Delete and then end
And then,
task.
yep, I'll see if I
Okay.
can share my whole screen. Let's see.
I know what you're talking about, Sam.
I've had this happen before. Yeah.
If you hit Control Alt Delete,
Yeah,
it
you
opens up.
find the task, you can end that task and the
Yep,
whole thing
you
goes
hit
away
Task Manager. Yeah, I can't show you. It doesn't
because it's all
So
browser
so
behind the
based.
Zoom, but
so you can't just click the X because that's part of
No,
the whole
because
image.
that's part of their website.
yep.
Wow.
Yep. The whole point is, yeah, you want to let Windows shut your browser down without you clicking a button. That's what you're trying to do. Well, at least on that screen. Once you get when you go into Control Alt Delete, it opens up another screen on top of your computer that like is not part of anything behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And then end task. If you can't remember that, close the lid, pull the power cord, something, just shut your computer off. Hold the power button down for 10 seconds. Just shut your computer off. Yeah, you probably just lost a couple of minutes worth of work or whatever you were messing with or whatever. But the whole point is, at this point in time, none of that stuff is on your computer yet. And once you click a button, now it's on your computer.
Mm.
And then going back to this one. So here's this one got even trickier. So this is the ones. So this actually downloaded Chrome Remote Desktop Host as an app on your computer. And that is a legitimate app. There is a thing from Chrome called Remote Desktop Host. And then it put ad blockers, Chrome extension, which there is a Chrome extension called ad blocker. So those are two legitimate pieces of software that it put on your computer if you clicked one of these buttons. The problem with that is they were being used for nefarious reasons, because now you got some guy in Russia who has access to your computer and can use the ad blocker to view your screens and keep his stuff from popping up. So any real alerts coming into your computer from your antivirus or Windows or whatever just get ignored and not shown to you.
Wow.
So that's what was happening. This was in the fall. I was actually got interviewed by the news in Northern Virginia about this, because I was one of the first ones that caught it when it was started happening, and the local news was like, okay, we want to have find out more about it or whatever, and so they were asking me a bunch of questions, but that was one of the big things. And so it kind of goes back to all these phishing scams and texts and emails and however they're getting it to you, Facebook messages, whatever. They all got one thing in common. They're just trying to get you to click a button so that they can go back and tell your operating system that you authorize them to put stuff on your computer.
Mm. Mm.
So that's your biggest line of defense, is teaching yourself how to resist the urge to click. Because I know, well, okay, so full disclosure. How did I get a screenshot of that one that went into my spam folder? Because I went back into my spam folder and opened it up to look at it just so I could take a picture of it,
Yeah.
So we all do it. I mean, I definitely know better, and I'm in there going, well, maybe I can catch it before it infects my computer, but so they send you those, you just got to be, oh, there's one other picture I was going to show. I forgot I had one more after this. Okay, so this one is kind of cute. So I get a text message from Christine from Alignable, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm doing great." Um, she's like, and then it got weird. She's like, sounds good, dear. I'm like, okay, I know a whole bunch of women business owners on Alignable, and most of them don't call me dear. So, okay, especially ones I've never met before. So I want to give you some advice I want you to give me some advice about your business. So I'm like, woohoo, potential client, right? But if you don't mind, can we use Google Hangouts to meet? Because it's much better, because the charges of $ of SMS is too much. And now flags are flying everywhere. Because I'm like, first of all, when have you ever said, I'm going to SMS you to somebody? You say, I'm going to text you. Like, the people in this country don't even know that SMS is the protocol behind a text message, So I'm like, and second of all, this was, by the way, this is like a year and a half old. So this was in 22. I don't even know if you can get a phone plan where you pay by the text message anymore. I mean, it's like everything's unlimited text and talk nowadays, right?
Yeah.
In like a decade. So yeah. Matter of fact, the opposite logic is almost true, because you'd probably be cheaper to send a text message and you already use the internet to Google Hangout.
Right.
By the way, Google Hangout got deprecated 5 years ago, so it's no longer valid anymore anyway. So I'm like, so what the heck? So that's when I was like, can you call me to schedule an appointment? And then they're like, oh, I'm too busy. Can you just give me your Google Hangout username? And then I ignored them, because now I know it's like, okay, you can't call me because you're too busy, but will you spend 5 minutes texting back and forth, whatever. So and then when I ignored them after 15, 20 minutes, and they started sending me pictures of cute girls in tight t-shirts. They're like, okay, he didn't fall for the Google part, we'll just get him to click a button. So but the reason why they wanted my Google Hangout goes back to what I was talking about. Google Hangout doesn't exist anymore, but it used the Google Plus login. So if I give them my Google Hangout, now they got access to all my Google stuff. And that goes to the picture on the right. A hacked Gmail account is worth $80. So yeah, that's the thing right there, because you can do so much damage with it. The same thing with all the, like the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, it's the same type of thing. See, if I go online, just think businessy for a minute. I go online and I spend $65 on the dark web to buy your username and password for your Facebook account. I hack into your Facebook account. I come up with some sob story about how I'm all alone standing on the side of the road and it's raining and I don't have any gas money. And I can guarantee you at least 3 or 4 of your friends and family are going to send me $50 to buy a tank of gas before the rest of them figure out it's a scam and quit. So I just made $150 off of spending $65. That's a 50% profit. I do this once a day. I don't ever have to get a real job. I mean, that's
better than sitting on the corner shaking a can, huh?
I was going to say, this is the new school way of the old school, back when, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, when you used to get thumped over the back of the head and they steal your wallet or steal your purse coming out of the movie theater in a dark alley, like the Batman movie or something. This is the new way of doing it. I just pirate your social media, hit up all your friends to send me $50, and I can get away with it for a couple minutes and get a few. I can guarantee you, everybody. Well, some of us are old enough, moms may not still be alive, but I can guarantee you, everybody's mother will send them $100 if you hit them up on social media talking about you're alone in the dark on some side road.
Yeah.
So it's
what I don't get is, I get that, right? They're getting money out of it, right? But the ones I don't get are the ones that will hack your Facebook account and then just post pictures of naked women. What is that about?
that is okay. So there's multi levels of hackers. So there's the hackers that actually write the code that hacks into stuff, and then there's the hackers that wrote malicious software that does these things. Um, and then underneath that, we have hackers that can follow directions. So it's like kind of think about what you were talking about, with the marketing. You wrote a proposal to do all this stuff, and then you give everybody the instructions so now they can do it themselves. Kind of a situation. So you got hackers out there doing that. So I can go on the dark web, or I can Google on the regular. Oh, by the way, does anybody know what the dark web is?
Yeah, that's like where they sell, like you said, where the
So
hackers.
think of it this. Think back
Bad
to the
stuff.
old days. Unlisted phone book. That's all it is. Back in the old days, everybody had a phone number. It was just a matter of, you always had that one friend that wouldn't put their phone number in the phone book, so you couldn't find them.
Mhm.
That's all the dark web is they don't register with the domain name server in Google, so you can't find them on a Google search. You have to know what their address is and go straight to their website.
Mhm.
All it is. So anyway, but I can go on the dark web and figure out how to hack all this stuff from tips that these guys have put in there, how-to videos and stuff. So the level under that we call script kiddies, and they're just basically following a script. So it's basically, I took those instructions and made them into a batch file that basically automatically does it itself. So you can just download the file and run it. So that's where you get these kids that are hacking into accounts just to prove that they can hack in. But once they're there, they ain't got nothing to do. So they just slap up a couple of stupid pictures and call it a day.
Kind of almost like the gang initiations. They do stupid stuff.
It's kind of like, you've got you got the ones, well, kind of like your daughter hacking into the school system. What'd she do after she got there? Nothing, because if she'd done something, she'd be in jail. So, it's just like
I
she just
think she was doing the test. She was getting the answers to the test because she didn't want to study. It was
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, who knows why some of these kids, most of them are just doing it to say they did it, kind of a
yeah.
thing. Yeah, but yeah, so then the last big thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll show the website just so I don't have to read this 100 times because everybody's going to be like, what? Okay. All right. So unlike the rest of the world that you've been taught, when something goes wrong, you call the local police. If something goes wrong with the internet, you don't call the local police, you call the FBI. And if you're in Canada, you call the anti-fraud center. And the reason why I say that is local police don't have jurisdiction because the bad guy probably doesn't live in your town. Even if they do, the local police don't have the resources or knowledge to fight cyber crimes. That's just out of their purview. So what ends up happening is they open a case, and now the FBI finds out about it and they want to do something, but they can't because the local police opened a case, and now they can't get jurisdiction. And the local police can't close the case because they'll never solve it. So it just kind of stays open forever and turns into a cold case. And you get stuck in this bureaucratic red tape circle of who's in charge and who can do what. So go to the FBI. If the FBI needs the local police, they'll get a hold of the local police and say, hey, go do this for us or whatever. But just to start off. So, and it's called the Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3. So if you can't remember all that, or you can't find it, or they change their website name again or whatever, just the local FBI field office, call them up, they'll walk you through it. But if you go to this website, there's a form you can fill out that gives them the basic information. One of the things you got to keep in mind is screenshots are your friend. As much proof as you can about what happened. And this actually applies to everything that we've been talking about, as well as all that fraud kind of stuff. The Social Security fraud, the IRS, any kind of internet crime, or just plain, somebody on eBay stole all your money and never sent you the product and won't talk to you now that you're trying to reach out to them, whatever. Anything dealing with any kind of internet fraud-based crimes, that's the people to get a hold of. They're the ones that they have another division of their office that deals with terrorist stuff also. So, but it's basically the same people. But so I know that was a lot. Any questions?
I have a bunch of questions, but I'm going to let my attendees ask their questions.
My first one is I use LastPass, and because I had heard that it was so safe, and now I'm starting to hear rumblings that it's not safe. So is it safe?
Yes.
Okay.
So LastPass, like, has been hacked, a couple of years ago, I think it was. Uh, so, but everybody's been hacked. Half the people just don't know about it yet. For one. For two, they did get hacked, but they didn't get anybody's, um,
Master passwords and stuff.
yeah, all they got was some credit card numbers that you're using to pay your accounts with or whatever. So, I still say it's safe. Um, the way they've set up their software, they don't even know what your passwords are. They're all like kept in an encrypted folder that only you can read. They can't even read it, all that kind of stuff. So, it's, and you have to risk versus reward, user convenience, which is safer? I mean, so yeah, we can sit here and say LastPass isn't safe. Okay. But is it safe to write your password on a sticky note and slap it on your monitor because you can't remember it? So, or use the same password for everything so you don't have to worry about remembering it. So when you put it into context, it's a whole lot safer than most of the alternatives that people are doing currently.
Yeah.
But when we used to work in corporations where yeah, you weren't supposed to put your password on your monitor because anybody could see it or whatever. But when we work at home, I mean, isn't that safe? That's how that means somebody'd have to break into your house.
True. Or your kid's friend is up to no good and decides he wants to try his hand at hacking because he saw your password and thinks he can do something.
My kids are grown. They don't even live here. They don't even
Yeah.
live here
No,
anymore.
if you're in a situation like that, yes. If you only got one or two people in your house, nobody ever comes into your office, like where I'm at, it's the same thing. Empty nester. My wife does. I think she's been in here like once in the last year. So yeah, you probably are okay doing that. It's it's more of a generic rule of you don't want those things written down in a readable form that everybody else is going to be able to see. So you just got to be careful. Uh, but
A lot of cases of identity theft are actually committed by people who know each other.
yeah,
Mm.
oh, I could get into that's a whole different webinar, but people who are going through a divorce or separation or boyfriend girlfriend breakup or whatever after that's a whole different thing these days because we're all old school. So remember the old days when you broke up with your girlfriend and you had to go over there with a milk crate and argue over whose CD this was or whatever. Nowadays it's like you've been buying music every week on Amazon Prime, but the account's in his name. So who owns the music?
Mm.
How many of you got a different Netflix account than your husband or your wife or whatever? I mean, it's like everybody in that family uses that same username and password.
Mhm.
So, it's the same thing with bank accounts and stuff like that. You got joint accounts, got multiple, users on the same account and stuff. It's like, so yeah, I've seen some really ugly stuff of people doing nasty things to each other with shared accounts.
Mm.
Okay.
Any other questions before I go through
Um,
my list over?
Go, Arba. You ask the questions that we should have thought of, but don't know.
Well, there was
Yeah.
that one question about clicking yes or no on
Oh,
the text.
yeah, so the yes or no thing, you're still clicking a button. So you're still doing what they want. In that case, you're not actually clicking a button, you're typing something in and hitting send, but you're still giving them permission. They're going to use that as permission.
Oh, okay. But by saying yes, and then they'll say that there was a positive response or whatever.
Yep. And
Okay.
even if you said no, it probably still counts as a positive response.
Mm.
Right. Like one of the things I heard was that a lot of them, they just have a whole list of numbers and they're just kind of, it's a spray and pray method. You hit all of them. You
Mhm.
don't know which ones are legit or not, but you get a response back, yes or no. Now you know it's a legit number, and so you can
Exactly.
keep hitting it over and over again.
Yep.
Mm.
That's exactly right.
Mm.
That's exactly what they're doing. That's just like you get those robocalls that are hangups. And
Yeah.
and then now they know that you are available to answer the phone on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. And now every Wednesday you're getting ads for, your warranty may be expired on your car or
Oh,
whatever.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other attendee questions?
So real quick, you talked about Comcast.
Yeah.
And is Xfinity the same as Comcast?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
They just
I
changed their
had
name.
they changed the name. So I have a router in my house, so I just log into the router.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You
I
want to
don't know how
log into the router. If you've got the newest, fanciest, latest version of the router, they might have recently, I've been seeing they're shifting it to where you can only get to your router through your app. On your phone or whatever, which is a little bit safer because at least you got to have your phone logged in with the Comcast account or whatever to get into it. But there's still a manual way of getting into that router, and that's what you got to make sure that that's not the default username and password. And something else too is depending on how old your router is, a lot of them don't have a lot of memory. So you might need to check that every once in a while, because like if the power goes out, it resets itself back to factory specs, and now all of a sudden your settings are all on low and your password is back to password.
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
The
So
other thing you
Maurice,
can do while you're in there too that I recommend is labeling all your devices, because once you're in there in your router settings, you can see a list of everything that's ever been logged onto your computer, onto your router, and label them. Kid's cell phone, my cell phone, work computer, basement TV, living room TV, whatever. Because then if you start seeing some strange device on there, you'll be like, wait a minute, what's this other thing doing on my house?
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
That goes back to that breakup stalking thing that Simone was mentioning, but yeah, I've seen it.
okay.
Mm.
Well,
Any
if
other?
I can't figure it out, I'm going to call one of you two.
Not me.
I'll call Maurice. I have his phone number.
Yep.
But so I have a comment before I go to my questions, is that so we finally got rid of our cable TV, and we have Verizon. And so we just said we just downgrading all, we don't want the bundle anymore. We just want the internet. And so they said, oh, okay, well, we need to send you a new router. And so I'm like, how much that's gonna cost? And it was like, it's not gonna cost you anything. But now I understand, because I have Verizon Wi-Fi and I have a Verizon cell phone. And I had noticed that lately Verizon put this protection thing or whatever. I don't know what it was, but I kept seeing it, kept saying your Wi-Fi is not secure. Your Wi-Fi is not secure. And so, like you were saying, how they upgrade computers because when they find out about hacking, whatever. So I think they immediately knew that we have an old router, and that's
Mhm.
probably why I was getting those notifications that my
Yeah.
Wi-Fi wasn't secure. So they
Yep.
just gave us a new router.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so the one thing you got to keep in mind with the internet service providers, most people have the big ones, AT&T, Verizon, Comcast. They have a lot of things in place to help you protect your cell phones and your routers and things like that,
Mhm.
but they're not looking out for your data. They're not protecting you so that you don't lose your baby pictures that you got on there from, when your grandkids visited or whatever, because they could care less about that. They're trying to make sure that when your phone does get hacked, it doesn't take out their cell phone network. When your router gets hacked, they don't want it to take out the neighborhood's Wi-Fi.
Right. I that makes sense. That makes sense. That's why they gave.
It goes back to what I was talking about before, where corporate America is only worried about computer and assets. They could care less about personal data.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's
that's
why
why they gave us the free
doing
route.
these type of presentations, because we need to worry about our own stuff. Let them worry about the equipment. Because
Right.
most of us are like, I could care less about this hunk of plastic. I don't want to lose the only picture I got of my granddaughter, especially now that she's, or my daughter, now that my daughter's 32, there ain't no getting them baby pictures back if they go away,
Right.
Yeah. All right. So this kind of goes back to my original question. And I know you talked about the multi-factor authentication and all of that stuff, but it seems like the more and more we put stuff on our phone or use our phone as a key to everything. So again, my question is, what happens when you lose your phone? Now people have access to everything.
So there are ways, I believe Apple makes it really easy. If you go in, if you have an iPhone, I think there's who has an iPhone?
I
Anybody?
don't think any of us are iPhone.
Okay. Oh, wow. This is the first
Oh,
time
one.
I've ever,
Oh,
Kim,
Kim.
this is the
Kim
first time
has
I've
an
ever been in a
iPhone.
room when nobody used any Apple products.
Kim.
So I believe, and I don't know if you ever noticed this or not, Kimberly, but I'm pretty sure if you have in your Apple ID somewhere in there, you can go in and find a device and wipe it.
Yes.
You could be like, oh yeah, somebody stole it. So you can get on, if somebody steals your phone, you can get on your kid's phone and be like, oh, and wipe your phone.
I get on my iPad and lock everything down.
Yep, exactly. Or lock it down, you can wipe it.
Mhm.
There is software that'll do that. Some of your, I don't know which ones, but I would say, like McAfee or Norton or some of those, if you're paying, 100 and something bucks a year for their stuff, they probably have something in there somewhere where they would help you to be able to do that and wipe a device. You can actually go into on an Android phone and set it up in the settings somewhere in there and have it so that you can go in and usually it's through the phone provider. Like
Yeah, because I'll
Verizon
say
or
again, if you
AT&T can help
lost
you
it.
set it up to where you can go
Right.
into your master AT&T account and wipe that device.
Okay. So so basically I think the thing what you're saying is if you lose your phone, try calling your cell phone provider and tell them I lost my phone. Can you just wipe everything or
Right.
whatever? Okay.
And I think you have
Um,
to have it set up ahead of time to be able to do it. I don't think it's something you can do after the fact.
oh,
There's
You have to set it up so that it's enabled and you can do that. Then you can do it after, but you have to set it up beforehand. I think if your phone gets stolen and you never set it up in the first place, they
Mhm.
probably don't have any, because you have to basically give them permissions and control over your phone. But
okay.
um
yeah,
I
you're right.
was
These things are this is like carrying around the master key set. You got to keep
Yeah.
right.
this thing.
I found this application. It's a Samsung application. Because I was trying to set up, and I need to do it again now. Set up a Find My Phone app for my mother because she loses everything.
Mhm.
So um for her phone, there was no app, but it was like on the Samsung website, there was a Find My Device thing. So I can always go there and find her phone. On there, I can also lock her phone and set it so that it tells me where it is. And then when whenever somebody's trying to make a call, they can only call me. So yeah, so there was a time when she lost her phone, she lost it in the post office. And when she found it, I had to unlock it for her because she could only call me. Mhm.
Yeah, and that goes along with what I was thinking. So Verizon, AT&T, and the manufacturers of the phone, probably like Samsung, like you're saying, has it set up to do that too. So it's
Yeah, so my phone, I can erase the whole device with
Yeah.
one button. Yeah.
Ooh, be
So-
careful.
Right, I've got
Simone,
yeah, but it's there.
funny story in the corporate world. The guy I worked with, we had worked for the military, top secrets. We made top secret software to handle command and control information on the battlefield. So the software secret, all the information secret, the people using it are secret, where they're at is secret, everything's all secret. Anyways, we had these government BlackBerry phones and they were set to 5 times of the wrong password and it would just wipe the phone.
Ooh.
The fifth incorrect password just wiped this dude wiped his phone like once a week. I swear, every time I turn around, he's like, hey, what's so-and-so's phone number again? I'm like, it's in your phone. And I lost all my contacts again. I was like, you got your phone wiped again?
Oh, man.
Terrible. So, talk about the wrong line of business.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question is the Gmail account. This is kind of back to my thing of the phone that, and I know you mentioned it earlier, but how everything is tied to our Gmail account.
Mhm.
So what were you saying is, so that's the one you were saying at the highest level that we should have the highest type of password,
The password to get
the
into
12 character.
right, the password to actually get into your Gmail account and setting up multi-factor authentication. But
I
that
mean, our Google account, not Gmail, right? The actual, the Google. Okay.
the
Okay.
Google account.
Uh-huh.
That should be that password should be completely different than any other password that you use anywhere else. I mean, like if
Okay.
all your passwords are like, you know, whatever, one of your friends' names or an old pet name or something,
Yeah.
or a movie or whatever, you make this one completely different. It's like a town or whatever that has nothing to do with any of that other stuff. So there's not like a pattern and somebody can figure it out. Because yeah, those are, and I would set up multi-factor authentication. I would make sure that your backup information in there is correct. It doesn't do any good to have, you know, if you forget your password, they're going to send it, you know, send you a text message, but you set it up 10 years ago and that you ain't used that phone number in 9. So yeah, that kind of stuff. Make sure they have a legitimate backup information and set that multi-factor authentication. Have that thing, you know, like I said, it's a pain. Once I have it on mine, so if I'm on my computer, I don't have a problem. But if I try to log into Google from anybody else's computer or anything else, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
jump through all kinds of hoops to get that thing to work.
Yeah, mine is like that. Okay, my next question, do you use LinkedIn much?
I do not.
Okay, because yeah, they've got some new third-party verification thing on there, and I've been real iffy about it because it's a third-party verification. They want you to upload your driver's license, and so I stopped right there. It's because you know, something about on LinkedIn that they want to make sure you're a trusted has anybody done that yet?
No, I saw that same thing, Arba, and
Yeah.
it stopped me cold. The only
Yeah.
the only
I
place
wouldn't
I
do
will
that.
upload anybody's ID, including mine, is the VA, the Veterans Administration.
Exactly. I was like, unless your website ends in .gov, you ain't getting a copy of none of my.
Yeah, and it's
Like that.
some third party company. So I just okay, so yeah, I'm not feeling that, and so I'm not gonna do that.
That's what my daughter had that when her Instagram got hacked and they set up multi-factor authentication, took over her account. So she had to prove who she was to get her account back.
Yeah.
So there's other ways they can do that. They had her because the first thing they wanted a selfie of her holding her driver's license. I'm like, a real person holding her driver's license, that's worth like $1,000 on the dark web. I mean, that is like gold. I'm like, oh no, you were not, because she's calling me up going, should I do it? I'm like, nope.
Well, no, this one isn't even, it's not like my LinkedIn has been hacked or nothing. It's just some new thing that LinkedIn has come up with saying that, oh, get verified, you know, you're more trusted now, or, you know, just to have some other badge.
I
And
think they need to, yeah, no, they need to just wait. After a few months, they might come up with a different way, because there's got to be a different way they can. If they use a third party to do the verification, a trusted third party, like what is that? ID Me? Did anybody ever heard of that? The
I
ID
think I
That's
have.
one,
government's
that's
been
one you
using
can
it for a
use
long
for
time.
the
That's how
VA.
you verify all your government accounts, is you go through the ID Me.
Yeah.
And
No,
then,
this is not,
yeah, so if they
this
come
is
up with
some
something
other.
like that, and they're gonna let some trusted government entity be the one to verify my stuff, and they're like, okay, maybe we'll do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be real careful with that one.
Yeah, this is something called Clear. Okay. And so this last one is more of a what I experienced one. I sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and so this person had said that they wanted this item, but then they said that they wanted me to verify myself. And this is the first time it happened, and then I didn't do it. I was glad. They said, I'm going to send you a code and let me know what that code is. I was like, what? Yeah, you already know. So I was like, what? So I was like, okay. And so then I get the code on my phone, but it clearly said, this is Facebook code. Do not share, do not give it to anyone. So I messaged the person. I said, I'm not giving you that code. It's my Facebook pin. It's a, whatever. So so I was like, wow, they're trying all kinds of ways. So it was exactly like you said, that they were trying to, say, give me my code. It came to my phone, and this person is saying that they were sending a code to verify.
They were trying to completely take over. So they got into your Facebook and they were trying to change the username and the password and everything else and make it theirs.
Yeah.
And steal all your stuff. And Facebook sent you the code. Now they're just trying to trick you into giving it to them. That's that
Right.
multi-factor authentication, a part of it internally.
Right.
But yeah,
I've had that happen to me too. It was with my Google account. I can't remember what the situation was, but I was talking to somebody, turned out to be a scammer. They were like, okay, no problem. Well, we'll send you a code just to verify it's you or whatever.
Yeah.
And I get the code and it said, Google verification code. I was like, how
Right.
they send me a Google verification code? I don't get that. And then the girl is just pressuring me to give her the code. Give me the code. I was like, no, I'm not going to give you the code because I don't know. I don't trust you.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me afterward. Oh my gosh, if I had given her that code, my whole Google account would have been in her hands.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's definitely buyer beware. Wow. Well, if nobody else has questions, I'm going to release Todd. But before
This
I
is
do,
great.
yes, let's
Outstanding.
thank
Great.
you.
Scary,
Thank
but
you.
great.
Thank you. And just real
I'll put
quick,
my stuff in chat. I forgot to do that. I was busy
Oh
talking.
yeah, put your stuff in the
yeah,
chat.
put that in there while I'm sharing what we're going to 'cause I don't even know what am I doing next week. Okay. All right, let me
I got to put
share.
mine in there too.
Yeah, put your
Put
information
mine in there and let his be the last one.
Okay, so next week you will all enjoy, just like you enjoy every week, but this is a comeback speaker. So meaning I've asked her to come back because if any of you are familiar with all of these different personality tests, like Myers-Briggs and there's DISC, there's all these other ones. So she does this one called Bank, and it's specifically for marketing. And it's like using these four, all of them are these 4 codes. But anyway, she does a really great presentation. But anyway, she's going to talk about how understanding somebody's bank code and like you can immediately, they don't have to do this assessment thing or anything like that. It's just using these 4 cards. So that's next week. So I encourage you all to come back next week and participate in that. I don't know, Maurice, were you ever here with that one where she talked about bank? That one was from 2022. I'm bringing her back.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't.
Okay, or maybe Kim. I don't know if Kim might remember, but
I don't remember that one.
But anyway, and I know Sandra, I talked to you about that, about saying
Yeah, you did talk to me about it.
personality type. So that's next week. So please fill out the survey when you log off, the short survey, because I do share it with my speakers to let them know how they did. And that's pretty much it. Just connect with somebody, get to know everybody. We're starting to see some repeats here. Natalie, thanks for coming back. Oh, Natalie's in accounting, bookkeeping. So a lot of this stuff is important for keeping her records safe. And
Yeah, I was just gonna say, when you were talking about the social engineering, like you're never supposed to put like your mother's actual maiden name. So they always tell me like use a theme like Dorothy, what's her name? Wizard of Oz. So
Right.
all of the security questions, you always just, where, Toto or whatever, you use that so you remember, but it's not your actual information.
And that's
It's a
the
good
people
time. Thank you.
used to do that. So you have to think with these security questions, they don't know the answers. So, and it doesn't have to be like, they're like, what's your favorite food? And you're like, Italian. Well, you don't have to put Italian in there. they don't even, it doesn't even have to be food. You know,
Mm.
you can go through them 6 questions and the answer to every single question is Bob. Bob, Bob, you know, it's just like, well, and actually I got stopped from doing that the last time I tried to do it with one of the government sites, and it came back with this thing going, you can't have the same answer for every question or something like that. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. Todd, thank you again for sharing your knowledge. Did you put your information? Did you say you put your information
I
on?
put
Yes,
it in
he
here.
is in
Yeah,
here.
and don't hesitate, you know, I got no problems doing meet and greets with everybody. I love to network, and if you got crazy questions or whatever, you know, that's fine too. So yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds
Well,
good. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
me too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You all have a great evening. I know I kept you a little bit over there, Maurice.
It's
I know,
good.
I
It's
was like,
worth
oh
it.
my gosh.
No problem. We're good.
Some of you guys are
Okay.
on the East Coast. It's like way past dinner time, huh?
No, I just got this thing with Maurice. I tell him I'm going to start on time and end on time. So I always tease him about that. All right. Thanks again. Everybody
Thank
have a great
you.
night.
Yeah, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.